Devastating effects of 4 consecutive years of way below average rainfall is placing an enormous financial strain on farmers in Graaff-Reinet area of the Eastern Cape. With the no rains since February, extreme heat which has destroyed all the vegetation, farmers now have had to spend money simply to keep their animals alive. To date, livestock producers had been forced to reduce their herds by between 50 and 70%.
And this should be growing now. See, it's completely dead.
Frustrated, angry and desperate for rain. This farmer is one of many who are feeling the ripple effect of the drought. They are calling it the worst drought in over 40 years. It has rendered parts of the Karoo barren.
I'm currently running a loss of my guesstimate around about 600,000 rand loss for this year, due to loss of production, loss of animals. We had to reduce our stock numbers. In the past, we used to sell interlinks of food and fodder to neighbouring farms and so on. This year we've had to buy in, so absolutely nothing. We've got no feed whatsoever to feed the animals. Yeah.
It's much the same for neighbouring farms. It's midday and Hendrik Wolfart in the scorching sun is feeding his sheep for the second time in one day. Without the feed, his animals would be dead.
For me, the most difficult is seeing my animals go hungry and some of them even dying. And economically, for me, it's not knowing where the money is going to come from to feed the animals. We do a budget every 6 months, but at the moment, I don't know if I'll have enough money to feed them until December.
Just 23 millimeters of rain has fallen since the beginning of the year. Feeding the animals costs an average 25,000 rand a month. Even then, for some, it's just not enough. In Aberdeen, the situation is the same. Not a blade of grass to be found.
A major sort of issue is going to be in a year's time if we do have rain. Herd sizes or flock sizes of breeding ewes are right down, numbers wise. Guys have had to offload stock to get them off their ground, to try and feed just a sort of nucleus flock to keep going. So in a year's time, or Lord forbid when it does rain and the guys want to get back into full production, they're not going to be in a position to get into full production.
Agriculture is a massive economic driver in the province. With no rain in the long-term forecast, farmers are pleading for the government to intervene.
We've had absolutely no assistance from the state to this point, and we are going to approach them again so that they can help the farm once the drought is broken, to then give them or provide cheap loans or cheap loans that can be serviced over a longer period, and so that we can then restock our properties.
The Nqweba Dam is a dust bowl. All that remains is a stench of dead fish. NGOs have managed to bring a small amount of water relief to some of the drought-stricken towns. This 4,000-hectare farm used to be lush and green, providing much-needed grazing and food for the animals here. But the drought in Graaff-Reinet, the worst of its kind in the Karoo, has left it to be the sorry sight. Farmers here are praying for rain because they say should no rain come, they'll have to sell some of their weaker animals, because if they keep them, they might be left for ruin or even die. Lerato, Thipa, SABC News, Graaff-Reinet in the Eastern Cape.
A water crisis in the town of Graaff-Reinet has seen the Nqweba Dam run dry, leaving behind an overpowering stench of dead fish while residents fight for water. The town needs 120 litres of water a second, but is currently only getting 50 litres a second. The town is known as the gem of the Karoo, with a large farming community who are also feeling the pinch of the water crisis. Many of the commercial farmers can't continue to bring in the required extra fodder for their stock, which costs them thousands of rands per day. Our reporter Lerato Thipa is in Graaff-Reinet, and we cross over to her right now. A very good morning to you, Lerato. Thank you so much for joining us. We've just seen the package that you compiled, and it's not looking so good.
Not looking good at all. We're actually in a farm just a few kilometers outside Graaff-Reinet, Ryan Farm, where this specific farm has already survived 4 droughts. But the owner of the farm, who we'll speak to later on, will tell you that this is the worst drought they've experienced in over 40 years. We've been here for the past 2 days and have covered various farms, as you saw in my package, and the sentiments are the same. Farmers really bringing out every level of faith they have and really praying for rain. And like I alluded in my package, the challenge right now is to try and bring enough food to keep their productive animals in a productive state. The cost of the food is expensive, the cost of maintaining their farm is expensive, and with no rain forecasted anytime soon in this town, the farmers now are really pleading that the government do some sort of intervention to help these farmers as well. Normally farmers during the day are not in their farms, but now every single day they have to go out, make sure that these animals are fed once or twice a day, and you can understand that such a cost is extremely expensive. So the farmers here are really complaining, saying that this drought in the past 40 years is undoubtedly the worst drought they've ever experienced. In my shot now, you see that obviously our animals, which are the ones that are experiencing the drought the most. Throughout the farms, we saw pictures and visuals, really painful scenes of animals that have died in the veld. The weaker animals that cannot stand the extreme heat are the ones that are suffering and feeling the huge plight of this drought. But farmers, they say that this job is one of faith, that you've got to have faith, got to remain optimistic, and they are hoping that in the next few days there'll be some sort of rain to this area. Like I said earlier on, only 22 millimeters of rain have actually fallen in this specific area, which was only in February, and since then there's been no sign of rain in this area, obviously leaving it very barren and brown. This area was actually used to be very lush and green, but as you see right now, it's brown, it's barren, it's really dry, simply like a desert really, and really dire situation in the area of Graaff-Reinet. But later on we will speak to the farmer of this area, who is going to absolutely assist us in finding out exactly the day-to-day expenses a farmer has to experience in terms of trying to keep this farmer a break. But we'll speak to that farmer later on. But for now, let's go to an ad break. We'll speak to you later on in Graaff-Reinet.